Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Monday, February 15th. Let me check the temperature at this moment. Oh, it's warmed up to -6. I'm Blair Kerkhoff. Today, we get a week after perspective on the Chiefs' Super Bowl loss. The Tampa Bay Bucs are taking their victory laps, as the Chiefs did this time last year. And star columnists Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian are here to provide some thoughts and conclusions now that we've had a week to think about what happened on that night in Tampa. After a break, we pick up on some big Royals news, the three-way trade that brought left fielder Andrew Benintendi to Kansas City. The move is getting universal approval in Kansas City, but let's hear what Vahe and Sam had to say. But let's get started talking Chiefs. You know, we haven't talked since the Super Bowl, or about the Chiefs, I should say. We haven't talked about the Chiefs since the Super Bowl, and I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the aftermath. Now that we've had a week to consider it, and I wanted to speak further with Herbie Teope and Sam McDowell later this week about some specific moves we think the Chiefs should make in the offseason. But just the looking back on what happened on Super Bowl Sunday, I won't speak for you, but the more I think about it, the more surprised I am that it happened in the way that it did, and you know the only, so-called blowout in Patrick Mahomes' career happened in that game. I can think of some reasons why it happened, and I guess the Chiefs are having to consider how it won't happen again. But let me get your week after thoughts on the Super Bowl, just generally speaking. Vahe, we'll start with you. Do you are you as surprised today as you were as it was unfolding?
Yeah, I was. Maybe we talked about it that night, but if somebody told me the score was going to be 31-9, I would have said, "Boy, the Chiefs really played well." I would never have seen it going that way at all. Based on what you said before, Blair, we've never seen Patrick Mahomes' quarterback team with the Chiefs lose by more than one score. And so that was stunning. I do think the farther away we get from it, the more we realize that the line situation was just untenable, that it got to that place that was one too many changes, one too many injuries that sort of let the dam break. I mean, that's how it seemed to me. There is a video. I didn't have it in my heart to retweet it because it's a little bit sort of snarky fun, but that's what this is all about. And you guys may have seen it. It's kind of a mock-up. I don't know who made it exactly, but the whole thing is Mahomes just getting swarmed every second, every play. And it at one point, it's set up by a guy like dressed as Mahomes and like some of his friends, swamping him, and one play they dress up as referees, running at him, throwing flags at him. But there's one play where he does like a slow motion flip and throws the ball, and then they show the sequence. They just show it, just another ball going through somebody's hands, and I think it's set to actual narration from the game. And I do feel like, even though it's a humorous thing, I do feel like that was like, yeah, that's the takeaway from the game. Now, look, there's always sequences in games that I think let the dominoes fall. You don't know how it affects how the rest of the game would go. And that was one bizarre sequence of stuff with the penalties and, offsetting the punt and all those things at once. Interception callback for another penalty, several penalties that really were not penalties. I mean, that Sam always uses this term. It's true. If you get into the officiating too much, it's the ballot of the loser. And I remember Sam also you saying this, and this was spot on, that you played too poorly to be able to say that the penalties killed you. But all those things rolled together in such a way that we haven't seen that kind of thing happen with these Chiefs, and they just couldn't overcome it.
One thing that strikes me is 2 weeks earlier, they played a great game against the Bills, and our thinking was, the Bills might be the second best team in the NFL. Heck with the Bucs. The Bills are the team, and after that early, muffed punt by McCole Hardman that led to the short Buffalo touchdown, the Chiefs just rolled. I think it was 31 unanswered, and the defense played well. Mahomes, the offense was clicking, and I suppose now in hindsight that maybe it was the worst thing for the Chiefs going into the Super Bowl was they have, like the Bills, they had played Buffalo earlier in the year, and it didn't seem to matter. But it mattered this time that they had played the Bucs, because I think the Bucs went to school on what they thought was a loss that they shouldn't have had. And I don't know if the Chiefs made much in the way of adjustments to the Bucs, but we know the Bucs absolutely made adjustments against the Chiefs. Don't you think, Sam?
Yeah, I thought that I would echo literally every word that Vahe just said. But Todd Bowles, that is an all-time performance by a defensive coordinator. I really believe kind of a similar way that people still talk about Bill Belichick when he was the DC for the Giants and they shut down, what was it, the K gun? Is that what they called the Bills back in the day?
Yeah.
And then Spagnuolo, with what he did against the, then 18-0 Patriots. I think this is in that class. And Todd Bowles maybe had a little bit of an easier go at it just because of what the Chiefs were dealing with across the offensive line. But, the way that they attacked and the way that I was watching one of those mic'd up last night, the way that Shaq Barrett and JPP were talking to each other and communicating, I'm going to go high, you can go low on this one, we'll meet. It was masterful. And what the Bucs did in the back end was incredible. Taking away the top and some of the sideline stuff. And I thought Levante David was as good as a linebacker can be in that game. Devin White as well, because you can do that, right? Like teams can take away, NFL teams are good enough. They can take away Tyreek Hill going deep if they want to. But then that means Travis Kelce's going to have 15 catches for 184 yards and 3 touchdowns, right? But those linebackers were so good against Kelce that the Chiefs never could do that. So I just thought Todd Bowles wrecked the game. He was absolutely incredible. And then my other 2 takeaways with this distance, I feel like every day that goes by, I feel like Mahomes played better than I did the day before. If the Chiefs just catch balls that hit them in the hands or face mask, I think that game goes a lot differently. You know what I mean? That throw that Mahomes made, the reason that on that video that Vahe was just talking about, that he did the flip, that sideways Spider-Man throw, that is one of the best throws I've ever seen in football. That was unbelievable. And then for just to hit Darrell Williams in the face mask was just, if you wanted one just glimpse, if you wanted the Super Bowl in 7 seconds or however long that play took, that's the one. Mahomes gets crushed, does something crazy anyway, ball bounces off the face mask. And the other thing that I think more and more each day is I think what happened with the accident with Britt Reed and that little gorgeous 5-year-old girl is I think that had a bigger impact the more that I go away from it, just because they were flat, they didn't adjust, so those are the things I think differently now than I did a week ago.
I think the dropping or not catching passes is a lack of concentration and focus. Yep. And I wondered about the Chiefs' concentration and focus.
And the lack of adjustments.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
On Friday and Saturday before the game. The other thing that's come out of the loss is the accelerated idea of position group, attention. What as the Chiefs go forward, what needs to be done. And I'll put it this way: after they lost the AFC Championship game in 2018, they basically changed the defense. Right, new coordinator. I think it was 7 starters gone, including all-timers like Justin Houston and Eric Berry. Kick in Alan Bailey and Dee Ford, and it was just a wholesale changes on defense. And after 2019, no changes. At least that was the plan. After winning the Super Bowl, you're going to run it back and keep what you got. And so my question is, after 2020, are we going to see more of a post-2018 or a post-2019 approach, or somewhere in between, some kind of mix of those, keeping in mind that there are about 24 free agents on the roster here the Chiefs are going to have to make some kind of decision on. Like I said, we'll talk to Herbie and Sam McDowell later this week, maybe breaking down the players individually. But a lot of these are concentrated in position groups, offensive line, for instance, and the cornerback group. So is this what we're looking at with the Chiefs? Are they going to have to make some big adjustments on offensive line and with their defensive backs, or do they make a lot of these guys priority signings and bring back a Mike Remmers, Kelechi Osemele, he's on the list. Andrew Wiley, also a free agent. So they're going to have to make some decisions on these guys. Was the Super Bowl loss alarming enough, Sam, that we might see some big changes in these position groups?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. And I think it's yes specifically because the way that they've done it is they invest in the tackles and then they try to make it work on the inside. And Eric Fisher, that's an 11-month recovery on an average. So that wipes out most of, if not possibly all of, Eric Fisher's 21 season. Mitchell Schwartz, I don't think the Chiefs can operate, confidently thinking that Mitchell Schwartz is going to start for them at right tackle. That took out the last, 14 weeks of his season after, week 6.
Yeah, including the playoffs.
Yeah. And so you're almost starting from scratch, nothing against any of those other guys, but those are kind of replacement level guys that we're talking about with Remmers and Wiley and Ryder and all these guys. They're fine. But the reason that line worked is because they had these studs at tackle. Now, LDT, by all accounts, planning on coming back. And Lucas Niang, can be a piece. You draft a guy in the 3rd round thinking he can play. So, assuming that he'll be back. So they've got some stuff there, but I think they need to get some guys, some real guys at tackle and maybe even the interior as well. That was a wreck. And I wouldn't say that if I thought, or if it's not me, but if Eric Fisher and Mitch Schwartz were going to be the starting tackles week 1, I'd have a whole different take for you right here. But I don't think they certainly can't count on Fisher, and I don't think they can count on Schwartz there either.
The only little thing I'd add, it's not really so different, but we need to remember that Fisher and Schwartz are getting a little older anyway.
Yep.
Right? So I guess there's different ways they can go about getting guys, and we'll see what they do with that. But I think that has to be tackle specific, right? It has to be a pretty big priority. The other thing that kind of just interests me, and I haven't thought this through all the way, but that's what you get out of me. They'll have a decision to make with Sammy Watkins, right? And what that's going to do with some money. And I think the other thing that's interesting to me is, have they identified who that other guy is that can make a difference, right? Yeah. Beyond Tyreek and Travis Kelce, because that to me showed up in the Super Bowl a little bit. Sammy Watkins, he played some snaps, but he was a total non-factor. And, we've used this line before, but at some point the best ability is availability. And I just don't think they can count on him. So I think that's another point of the pieces they have to think about. It's not a whole position group, but that might free up some money. Anyway, I don't know. It seems like that. I'm okay with their defensive backfield right now. I feel like they've got the right guys. Maybe they need another difference maker, but I'm not troubled by the defensive backfield. Maybe you guys are.
No, I think on defense, you can always use defensive backs, right? That's one of those positions, like when you're trying to defend the pass, and that's what matters now. You can always use more of those guys. But if the choice was, sort of a B plus, we'll say, level, defensive back or a B-plus level edge rusher. I think they have a bigger need at edge rush, and which is a problem in some other ways, right? Because they can't do anything with Frank. They need Frank Clark to be good. That can't be. That's not a contract that they can get out of or whatever. They need him to be good, and I thought he was in the playoffs. It's a weird career. Shouldn't say career, but it's a weird 2 seasons he's had in Kansas City, where in the regular season consistently underperforms. Right? Like just compared to fair expectations based on the contract and what they gave up and everything. And then in the playoffs, he plays pretty well. But, they still need those kind of changing plays. They need more pressure on the quarterback. That game was that was one at the line of scrimmage. And that's something that's not hindsight. We talked about that going in, that if Tom Brady is pressured the same as Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs are going to win this game. Like the only way for the Bucs to win was to basically do exactly what they did. Pressure Mahomes on, 29 of 56 dropbacks, according to ESPN stats and info. I mean, that's incredible. And then I think more incredible is that Brady was pressured on 4 times. They got pressure on him. Like that's crazy. So that's what they need to adjust. And it's both. It's the guys blocking Mahomes, and it's the guys kind of going after the other team's quarterback as well.
Hey, one other thing that somebody chime in real quick and we're all cognizant of this, but it is an interesting balancing act though for them to try to totally process and filter the Super Bowl itself versus the broader scheme of things, right? I mean, before the Super Bowl, this was a team that when they suited up the varsity won 16 out of 17 games.
Yeah.
That's what you want. And so naturally you want to adapt to what you saw in the Super Bowl. You want to be playing for the championship, not just to get there. But I do think that ought to, give them some pause about just how extreme this needs to be. I mean, I think you can really identify, and I think we've talked about it, the places that really need help. But I think we can remember this is still a pretty young nucleus. And when they get J.J. Watt, that defense will be even better. Do they have any shot at J.J. Watt? Well, is that a possibility or not really?
I was just reading something. I think it was Peter King, and it sounded like Watt wants both to be paid and to go to a contender. And I think the Chiefs can offer one of those, right? I don't know that they can offer both. Just with and they've got like the way that Mahomes contract, it's a $500 million. So like Mahomes isn't, he's not being altruistic or whatever, but it just. The list of things that guy does is incredible, and it should be included on there. Signed a $500 million team-friendly contract. Like that's never happened before. They've got bonuses that they can convert, and I mean they've got ways that they can create some space. They don't want to do it every year, but they've got some money hidden under rocks in some places, and so they can adjust. They can address some issues. They can't address everything. They can't go get J.J. Watt, and Shaq Barrett is also, I think, a free agent. They're not going to sign like both those guys and sign 5 all-pros on the offensive line. You can't do that. But, there has been, I think, in the last week, and I don't pay a ton of attention to it, to be fair, but at least in some circles sort of nationally, it seems like the Chiefs are being painted in like that they have a bigger distance to close than I believe. The offensive line is a wreck. They've got to address that. But otherwise, like you said, Vahe, I mean, that's a team that even with the Super Bowl went 16-2, right? With the varsity, and the 2 teams they lost to, they also beat, so right. It's not like they're not that far. They're not 31-9 away from another Super Bowl. They're in a really good place. If you could buy stock on what NFL franchise is going to have the most success in the next however many years, I think the Chiefs would be one of your first picks.
There's still some salary cap issues they've got to work out, and there's a thought that they won't be able to bring back Fisher, Schwartz, and LDT on the contracts that they're on. Someone's going to, if they decide to go that route, someone's going to have to restructure. I think several people are going to have to restructure, Tyrann Mathieu being one of them as well. Speaking of the offensive line, they did draft Lucas Niang in the 3rd round last year, and of course he opted out. But I think a priority has to be the thinking has to be, who are we going to acquire either in the draft or through free agency that's going to help Patrick Mahomes in this offense. And so I do think there needs to be more attention paid to offensive line in this year's draft. Before Lucas Niang, you had Nick Allegretti as the only Brett Veach offensive line draft choice, I believe. So I think they need to spend more time on that position at that position group in the draft. All right, hey guys, let's take a break. And when we come back, let's switch sports. Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. Back with Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian talking all things sports in Kansas City. And last week, the Royals made a big deal. They acquired Andrew Benintendi. Sometimes I have to say it in my mind first before I can, pronounce it. Benintendi from the Boston Red Sox, left fielder, and gave up Franchi Cordero to the Red Sox and Khalil Lee to the New York Mets. It was a three-way deal. All the reviews I've seen have been pretty positive for the Royals into this, and even in Boston, they're seeing it as a relatively good deal for them, and it's not complete, right? There's still a couple of players to be. The Royals are going to have to give up a couple more players that we don't know the identity of them yet, but I think that this move indicates that Dayton Moore is not looking at a window for playoff opportunity in 2 or 3 years. This move suggests that the Royals are playing for now, and whether it works out that way or not, I like the boldness of the move, and it is the Royals had a hole and they filled it, with a player they had identified back in November, and they got this done. Sam, are you thumbs up with this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a weird thing, right? That because of salary reasons, Boston has to trade a good player to Kansas City. It's just a weird deal, but he fits. I think Benintendi fits in every way that I can think of, at least at the moment. Like, he fits in a specific baseball way. They've got a position open. They wanted a left-handed bat. The Royals, and they're not alone in this, but the Royals love former top prospects, and this guy was once the number one prospect in all of baseball. They believe in talent. It's a bet on their coaching staff. It's a bet on their culture that can bring out the best in him. Dayton has always been super aware of sort of messages that are being sent to the clubhouse. He doesn't want this to be 2006, where it's the Royals are a place you go when you can't go anywhere else. Right. He wants them to believe that they're trying to win. You develop by winning, you win by developing. Dayton says that sometimes, and that's what this is there as well. The only thing I don't like about the deal is that he only has 2 years of club control. I wish he had more. But I think Khalil Lee, he was on all the top 100 prospect list before not last season, but before the 19 season. But he strikes out a lot and he doesn't hit for power. And that's a rough skill set once you get to the big leagues. And Cordero, it doesn't take like a trained baseball eye to see the physical talent in that guy. I mean, he does some stuff that just pops off the screen if you're watching on TV, but he just can't stay healthy, and they wanted him to play every day. They felt like they owed that to him and to themselves. But I think they felt like they bought I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but they bought some certainty. They bought a little bit more certainty with Benintendi compared to Cordero. And moving forward, it's a lineup that has some length to it now. I think they feel like, they can contend even with a loaded AL Central.
I'm all aboard for all the reasons Sam said that I can't possibly articulate as well. But I like where they are with this. I think it kind of clarifies the lineup, gives it length, as Sam put it. Also, what I'm liking about the Zoom call is the way. Is this the way it's going to go, Blair? We're seeing Sam.
Just shift from locale to locale.
All right, guys. No, just some atmosphere. Here's the reason for the.
All right. The thing is, I think what's kind of neat about the situation is it reminds us that they're striving, right? You have to give up something to get something, and I think there's a little element of urgency here that not only is a message to the clubhouse, but a message to the city. So I think they'll be intriguing, and boy, what a winner for them, really. I mean, I think Santana and Mike Minor and Michael Taylor, and I mean going back to Sam's other point. They like guys who were sort of top prospect type things. And I think that's what we're seeing. They're gonna take gamble's too strong a word maybe, but they're betting on themselves to get the best out of these guys at this stage.
Yeah, they believe in like what they've built internally, their coaches and just their culture. And then so their bet in very broad strokes, I think, is to bring this talent in, and they believe the talent will flourish in that culture. It's a really, look, John Sherman's, time in the seat is still too short to make any like grand declarations, but that part of it too, I think, is another positive that, when this thing hit, when the world shut down, the thing that John started telling everybody in the front office, coaching staff, business operations, everything is we got to figure out how to be better when this thing is over. Like, how do we get better coming out of it than we are going into it? And, that's where all this stuff begins from the way they treated the minor leaguers last year. They added baseball operations staff when a lot of other franchises were shedding. They are, it's impossible to say, right? Like how much of what you just said, Vahe, like the Santana, Minor, Taylor to a lesser degree, but Benintendi now, like how much of that is them sort of zigging when other clubs are zagging, and seeing a little bit more of an opening than maybe they would in normal times. But it's all those things too. I mean, that's another thing. Like it fits them like baseball culturally broad. Their 30,000 foot, sort of plan on how to attack this thing. It's a really, really interesting and I think kind of defining move for who they are and what they want to be.
One thing I really like about Benintendi is his on-base percentage, and Santana as well. And it looked like the Royals, they love those two guys enough to bring them in, and they come in with the ability to get on base. And what I don't like about that is the Royals don't seem to be able to fix that problem with players that come through their organization. This was a team that I think I saw this tied for 26th in Major League Baseball and on-base percentage in the shortened year. And gosh, even going back to their pennant-winning teams, that was always put the ball in play, and they just had great ability and a long lineup. And but without the long lineup, the last couple of years, you had guys that struck out a lot, who did never seem to get on base, who were swinging at 3-0 pitches all the time, I wish I've seen other organizations make that type of thing a priority. I wish the Royals would have done that, but nevertheless, they do they do add to their lineup guys that get on base, and I think
Blair, I've got two words for you: Esky Magic.
Yeah. The other part of that. This is a little bit of a tangent that I don't know how far we want to go down, but the Royals always believe in athleticism, right? Some of that is just sort of where the front office is philosophically. Some of it is the biggest outfield in the American League, but they've always believed in athleticism. And like top shelf athletes who also get on base a lot are really, kind of hard to find. But shoot, what was the other point? I'll come back to it.
Well, what goes hand in hand with not taking walks, you're always surprised when you see Salvador Perez gets on base via walk. I see the light bulb over your head, Sam.
Yeah, so it's also a bet. This trade, I think. I think what the Royals are saying, unless one of these guys is the player to be named, but it's telling you how much they believe in Isbell. To come in and sort of be an outfield spot. Nick Heath, can do some of a lot of the things that Khalil Lee. So they had a little bit, and they don't have in a lot of places on the position side, but a little bit of redundancy. And I think the Royals are saying they believe in those guys. Isbell's been a guy that, to Dayton and one other guy in the front office before the draft, and they were really hoping, that he would fall to them. They saw him a lot and loved sort of him as a player and a person. And I think they're saying that they believe in that guy a lot going forward too.
It also helps Nicky Lopez, doesn't it? I mean, all of a sudden, Nicky Lopez isn't just the only pure left-handed hitter in the lineup, and they can, you can waste him out at the bottom of the order in exchange for his good defense. You don't have to bring Whit Merrifield in to play second base, and there's just a lot of mitigating factors with Benintendi. So
will Nick benefit greatly from playing one position more, or not? Not really. I mean, he's kind of amazingly consistent anyway.
I think it's good for him to not play center field. I don't think he's great as a right fielder, just defensively, but I thought center field was just not, especially for what the Royals think they are and want to be. That was an awkward fit. Second base is his best spot, but I think he's, Whit is enough of a team player to, recognize that his versatility is a lot of his value, and that they can move him around. But I'd feel better about him at second base than right field, but I feel a lot better about him in right field than center.
And one last thought from me on Benintendi, I'd project him to be a 40 doubles guy in a Royals uniform. He changed his swing a little bit his last full year in Boston to try to gain a little more power. I think what the Royals need from him and what he'll excel at is being a contact hitter, a gap hitter, and rolling the ball to the wall and being a doubles guy at the K. So, all right, guys, I enjoyed the conversation. But Vahe, I wanted to ask you this: how are you letting your dogs out? What are you doing? It's -8 as we speak.
Yeah.
-31 wind chill this morning. How are the dogs handling it?
Well, one of the dogs is part husky, and he doesn't even want to go out. So, we've got a little opportunity. We can let him out in the back, and let's just say they've used the deck more than they normally would instead of going all the way out. And Saturday was the cutoff. I try to go. I'll go to 0. I mean, I'll get out there and bundle up. I feel like it's good for me, but haven't walked them since then. So they're just getting backyard duty. I don't know what's going on with Frankie over at Sam's house. How are you guys treating that?
She's confused, man. Like, she wants to go out constantly, and then she remembers how cold it is, and then she wants to come right back in. I feel terrible for her. She, you can just tell, like, the paws, it's like the opposite, right, of walking on like hot coals. But that's what it looks like sometimes. I'm just like, trying to keep the paws up. And this is, I love the cold, but this is just, it's hard to defend.
You got pushed.
We're getting frozen. I mean, yeah, it's rough out here.
Blair, I hate to publicly acknowledge that you have a cat, but are you letting it in?
That was amazing. That was amazing. Blair's going to cut off this part of the show. I can guarantee you.
I try to let it out. Keep the door open for as long as I can hold it open, and maybe nudge it a little bit and try to, it can go from the front to the back pretty easily and pretty quickly, but no, it doesn't want to go out. So it lays on the bed all day like cats do. So But you're right, Sam. I think we've had days like this. What we haven't had are prolonged days quite like this, and
1,000,000%. Yeah,
maybe another day of this, and until it gets out of the ridiculous zone. So, and those poor people in Texas dealing with the snow. I was another huge pile up today out in western near El Paso. I saw them on I-10. They have more snow in Texas than we've had up here. So it's really been something.
And those people, man, like you get just a dusting in Texas and they freak out. Like they don't know what the hell.
Yeah.
They're not ready for it. You don't see the salt and sand silos,
right,
in that part of the country.
Right.
Hey, I do have to say, hats off to KC Mo on street treatment. We've had some moments of criticism of that in the past, but it's been easy to get around.
I'm actually glad to hear that. That's good to hear. It's same in Johnson County. They've done a nice job here in Joco land. So, all right, guys. Let's next time we talk, we'll do a little college basketball, and as we get closer to the NCAA tournament, and Missouri's having a season even after going 0-2 last week, and Kansas is still trying to figure things out. So, and then Kansas State, boy. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about all of it next time we chat. Vahe, Sam, thanks a lot, you guys.
Thanks, Blair.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to our SportsBeat KC production staff of Derek Donovan, Beth Welsh, Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. Tip of the cap to Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian for stopping by and talking Chiefs and Royals. Links to their stories can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Hey, we have another deal for you. For a limited time, you can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. After 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month, unless you cancel. How do you get it? You go to kansascity.com/sportspass2020. That's kansascity.com/sportspass2020. Do you want more than just sports coverage? Check out the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. The details for all of these deals can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. And if you're having trouble hunting down any of these offers, send me an email, bkerkhoff@kcstar.com, and we will get you to the right place. So whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Tuesday with another episode.